What's going on, cobbers? It's Wesda here, and we're back with another video. Today we're going to be ranking the states and territories of Australia. The instigator for this video was this other video I came across by this YouTuber who ranked the states and territories of Australia. You guessed it, it's made by a filthy Yank.
The median household income is the third highest of any state or territory at 115 grand, and the median home value is the lowest at just 515 grand.
They were using some measures such as median household income, median home value, unemployment rate, poverty rate, crime rate. It's like, are any people in any state in Australia actually constantly thinking about those 5 or 6 factors? Like, oh, I don't like this state, it's got a high poverty rate. And these factors did seem to weigh heavily on some of the decisions in the ranking in this video. This is the ranking that the filthy Yank gave for the states and territories. There's a few alarm bells here. Quite surprisingly, I thought Queensland ranked fairly low, and the only real reason given was a high poverty rate, I suppose, compared to the rest of Australia. Is the high poverty rate really offsetting all the other good stuff about Queensland that's making it sink down to the number 6 spot? Like, it's behind Tassie. ACT ranking 3rd. I know you're going off all your bloody incomes and all that shit, but it's just all public servants probably on a set, you know, they're instantly on 90k when they walk out into the workforce. So I feel like that's a bit unfair comparing it to other states based on that. And yeah, it's low crime. Well, I don't know. They're all on handouts, so that's why there's low poverty rate. They're not bloody getting the real deal like we do in other states. And Western Australia gets the top spot seemingly just because it's got a high average income, fairly low home price. It's like, come on, you got to get some better factors. Like, what about the vibe of the joint, you know? What about the vibe of the thing, the castle shit, you know? Where are those factors? The problem with using factors like these to rank states is that the parameters often work against each other. For instance, if you have a city with low crime, poverty and unemployment rate, then everyone is going to be making a high salary and driving the home and cost of living up. The only way to get a city with low home value and a low cost of living is a city where there is going to be low salaries and higher poverty. It's supply and demand, mate. So I went out to my Instagram story and I thought, I think people can help me with this. I want people just to give me the state they live in, what they love about it, what they hate. And I thought I'd get some real answers from the people that have lived there, not by some filthy Yank just looking at some stats overseas. I want to see some real reasons why states are good, states are bad. It's not down to just some numbers, alright? It's more qualitative factors, alright? Qualitative. Look that up. So at number 8 on my list, I've put the ACT. More so out of spite. To be honest, Northern Territory probably should be number 8. I kind of agree with that, but I wanted to put ACT there, just out of spite, alright? The only good thing that's going for it is Questacon. That's the only pro. Cons, what do we got? Boring as fuck. Property price is way too high for such a small city. I don't think this bloody American fella factored that in. Like, property prices and rents are bloody through the roof for such a shit spot. Like, I'm happy to pay a higher rent if it's a good city, but it's not. The PT is kind of mediocre for what you would think is a city that should have good PT. You could say, well, you know, you can just drive everywhere. You got the roundabouts, there's not too much traffic. And yeah, that's all good too, but the driving's also kind of boring. Like, yes, I know the roundabouts are great for traffic flow, and I don't know, maybe I'm a dirty Melburnian who gets stuck in traffic jams all the time, but, you know, it almost feels like boring when you're getting to your destination around through these big windy roundabouts, and it's not that fun. Also, the winter's just way too cold. Like, the position of latitude, you'd think it's going to be kind of warm for some of the year round, but it's pretty bloody cold for most of the time. So that's why it's coming in at number 8. Number 7, I'm sorry, I do have to put the Northern Territory. Northern Territory is cool, don't get me wrong. Like, the See You in the NT campaign, that's freaking awesome. I know people love it for fishing. I know there's some bloody ripper sunsets you can get in and around Darwin and across the national parks there. Unfortunately, the weather is just way too hot all year round. And then when it's not hot, it's a cyclone. The worst part about it on a hot day is you can't even go to the beach because of the freaking crocodiles, which might be cool when you're on holiday there, but when you're living there, I imagine the fact you just can't go to any body of water apart from if it's a freshwater pond or something, or the bloody fake beach they've got there. I think Northern Territorians probably would agree, but I know they like their space. You can come and, Wolf Creek me any day. Number 6 is South Australia. Honestly, there's not much reasons you can give because there's just not much to put in here. I don't know, like, obviously it's got a wine region. I'm not really into wines, but good on them for that. Big shout out to the iced coffee culture. I do like an iced coffee myself. I love a state that does get around the iced coffees. Other than that, it's just a very slow going, old-fashioned country town. The American guy in his video said the supermarkets close at 5 on a weekend. I'm not totally sure about the truth in that, but if that is true, that's bloody deplorable. Pretty piss poor, and I'm assuming that means it's piss all nightlife as well. So look, if you want to live in a retirement village, then go for it with some wine, but yeah, not for me. Number 5 is Tassie, and Tassie should be bloody grateful it's up this high. You'd think when you're doing a states and territories ranked list that Tassie would struggle. It should be grateful that it's even this close to the top, really. Beautiful landscape. It's probably one of the more unique areas in Australia. I do also love the architecture as well. A few bad things though. The one-way streets in Hobart. I don't know why you need them, but one-way streets can just fuck off. Obviously, it's also like Canberra. It is very cold. That's the problem, is it does have a lot of beautiful coasts and beaches in Tassie, but it's just not hot enough to swim in them most of the time. The next thing is you're gonna get bullied. If you live in Tasmania, you're gonna get bullied for being inbred. Alright, it's just gonna happen. I'm sorry, I'm a Victorian. I am obligated to bully Tasmanians. Number 4 is New South Wales. I think it is overall very beautiful. There's some areas that are great coastline, even great mountainous areas. And then obviously you've even got a bit of desert there as well. You can get your license at 17, which is pretty sick. But when you think about it, there are definitely a few negatives to living in New South Wales. A lot of them do revolve around cars. The fact that if you've got a car 5 years or older, you've got to get a yearly safety inspection. So basically when you're paying your rego, you've got to get another roadworthy. That would suck. Like if your car is shit, you're in for it. You're going to be paying the big bucks to keep that bitch on the road. Sydney, the capital city, is beautiful but notoriously expensive. What you're paying for is not much on the day-to-day. The nightlife is also notoriously shit due to various lockout laws, and just the culture just hasn't revolved around it like somewhere like Melbourne has. Another factor that someone told me is Dapto. Just the fact that Dapto is in New South Wales is a con. Although I did look it up and I saw there's a Bong Bong Road, so I'd say that's a bit of a plus. Number 3, Western Australia. It's been dragged down. You can't grab the number 1 spot, Western Australia. I'm sorry, but I've got to use my East Coast bias. I have a right as an East Coast citizen to punch down on the West Coast, alright? We're not letting them get that number 1 spot. I think even they know they don't deserve number 1. Who's out there going to other countries saying, best state in Australia is Western Australia? No. The only pro I got from my Instagram audience was that it's a relaxing city, which I do agree with. I guess it is kind of relaxing. It's not as big as Melbourne or Sydney. It does have pretty bloody good weather, I'll give it that. And it does have great beaches, I'll give it that. Great coastline. I know you've got some great little towns over there. Exmouth is one that my partner goes on about all the time. There's plenty of other towns around there where you can go for a dip and there's bloody blue ass water and white ass sand. Obviously another, Margaret River ride and wine region with the bloody pink lake and shit. I know you've got all that. A few negatives though that I have been made aware of is the gel softer ban. Gel blasters, look, it's not really my thing, but they banned them. So that's a big negative. That's a big line through WA for me. That's brought it down to number 3. The Armidale line. Now I know a lot of other states have bad train lines, but I've heard some things about the Armidale line. Heard not good things. Let me tell you that much. Another thing that I don't think this yank considered when he put it number 1 is a lot of Western Australia is still very deserty and very inhospitable, which is one of the reasons why he kind of pulled down Northern Territory and South Australia a little bit too. The rest of it's just mining. They got lucky with some resources. Another big negative is the West Coast Eagles Football Club. West Coast Eagles. Shout out Modal Soul for this one. West Coast Eagles exist, so that's a con, buddy. I'm sorry. Alright, down to the top 2. So you're automatically going to guess what number 1 is when I announce number 2, but just wait a second, alright? Hold your comments, alright? Number 2 is Queensland. Amazing weather, amazing beaches. Rum as a pro, but rum also as a con, as I was made aware of by a few different people. It is too hot to wear a hoodie, is what someone said as well. the amount of bloody towns up that coast, you've got so many bloody options for every bloody holiday. You can hit each one of them, get a different kind of holiday. Come on. The theme parks are fun, no matter what age you are. Obviously, another problem the further north you go is it does get a bit cyclonic, a little bit like the Northern Territory does, but I guess the weather is a little bit more dynamic, so that's why it doesn't get dragged down like the NT does. Another con that someone told me is it's the red tape capital of Australia. I can't verify this because I imagine there would be red tape in a lot of states. And I probably just explained with the motor vehicle transport red tape regarding New South Wales, Victoria. I'd say there's a lot of red tape in New South Wales, but I guess maybe there's a lot of red tape in Queensland as well. So, I'm not going to stand in between a man and the local government council, because I know a lot of people hate councils, which is also a common comment that I did receive, but it's like, well, there's councils all around Australia and we all hate them. Another con about Queensland is it is kind of known as being the Texas of Australia, which brings along some of those, southern ideas. Obviously, Pauline Hanson, Fraser Anning, two infamous politicians that somehow pop up in the parliament. I don't know how they get there, but it's because of Queensland that they get there. So it's something in Queensland. Something's a bit different up there. It's the hot weather. It's the wild pigs that people go hunting for. It's something in the rum that just sometimes it makes them a bit hostile towards people with different skin colours. Number one, it's the greatest state in all of Australia. It's Victoria. There's no Vic bias here. Yes, I'm born and bred in Victoria, still live in Victoria. But there's no Vic bias. I love all the states and territories. I've been to them all. But Victoria is the best. I'm going to tell you why. Diverse landscape. Got the snow. Got the beaches. Got the bloody forests and the national parks. Got a little bit of desert up, Mildura way. Got the rivers. Probably the best part, and this is maybe mostly Melbourne centric, but I think a lot of other satellite cities and towns also have this as well, is just the great culture, like the eating out, the drinks, the coffee, the somewhat of a party culture, all the sporting events that we have in Victoria, Formula 1, Australian Open, AFL, we get NRL games here. And when one of those sports games gets sent up to Sydney, you know what we do, we throw buckets at goalkeepers. And also we have the best junkies in Australia, apparently. I can't say I've had many junkie encounters in all of the states and territories, but apparently someone on my Instagram said that we have the best junkies in Australia, and I think that's a massive pro. A few cons, the beaches are a little bit mediocre compared to the rest of Australia, I'll give you that. No 10-cent deposit scheme. I think it's on the way, but I really need to get my 10-cent coins up. And right now, if you have a can or a bottle in Victoria, you cannot deposit it for that sweet, juicy silver coin. Should be on the way. I think Dan Andrews is working on that. A few different comments here. Someone's just said the trains is a con. I reckon the trains are pretty good here. I imagine they're probably just as good, if not better, than most other states. I know Sydney Trains network is supposed to be a little bit better organised with no city loop like Melbourne does, but they are fixing that. So I don't know. I don't think that's got a bit of juice in it. Someone said the worst bogans in Australia, which I really would like to flesh that out with the person that wrote this. But worst bogans, hillbillies in Australia. I didn't realise that. I would have thought they'd be up in Queensland or out west somewhere, or down in Tassie, bloody Chopper Reed. Can't drive a jet ski till 16. Can't say I've ever had that issue, but it is a con. I'll put it down as one. Anyway, that's my states ranking. Let me know what you think. I'm sure you probably disagree with me, but I think all my fellow Victorians will be very happy. I hope they all give me a like. If you're from another state or territory, I hope you also agree that Victoria is the best, but if you're having a bit of a cry right now, maybe you're Western Australian and you got knocked off your top spot, but I think just look in the mirror and say, oh wait, hold on, I'm not Victoria. I don't deserve this. Alright, have a good night, have a good day, have a good week. Catch you in the next one. Like, subscribe.